Hello, this is Ashy. Today I have with me Dez.
Hey, I'm still being kidnapped. Help.
Yeah, unfortunately, Wa had some bad Chinese food, and I hope he recovers. In other news, we just covered the second part of Cleric, and that's regarding the variant channel system. So with those so close, I feel it's a good time to talk about some channel feats. Channel feats is basically an unofficial category of feats that affect your channel as a cleric or as another channeler. So we'll start off with a classic here. We have here Turn Undead. In other editions, Turn Undead was just a class feature, and it was used to, like, fear or vanquish weak undead. It's a bit of a throwback. It was essentially replaced with the Channel Energy positive feature. As a feat, it just forces a will save, or it'll cause undead to flee as if they were panicked for a minute. Unintelligent undead don't get further saves, but intelligent undeads get to reattempt that save. It's an okay feat.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it
It
is a feat, so it might not be worth picking up beyond the damage. I mean, there's some better options for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, turn undead just gets rid of your damage. You can either turn undead or you can do damage to undead. So it can be good against chaff undead, but it's a feat you're spending to deal with a single creature type. It can be further enhanced with the Blazing Channel feat. Blazing Channel causes those undead that fail the save to be turned to also catch fire. The fire is holy and it deals divine damage. It can be extinguished with negative energy. And,
But the average undead isn't going to have access to just negative energy to put out the fire. And if it's unintelligent undead, yeah.
it'll eventually
Okay,
just
that
burn to death.
that combo could probably clear out a bunch of chaff like in a dungeon instead of having to deal with it.
Yeah, I do feel like 2 feats for that isn't particularly amazing, though the fact that it's divine damage and not subject to fire resistance, in fact, it's not really subject to any resistance, does help in its favor just a bit. But only a bit.
Yeah.
On the negative side of that, Command Undead, an old feature for evil clerics. It lets you attempt to enslave undead to your will. They make a will save, and if they fail, they're controlled as if you had cast the control undead spell. Intelligent undead receive additional saving throws each day. You're limited by your cleric level and how many undead you can control in this way. It's hit dice based, and if an undead that you're attempting to control is under the control of another creature, there's an opposed charisma check to see who gets obeyed with any given command, and all in all, I'd argue it's a pretty mid feat, despite being the premier way of controlling undead creatures created by the Create Undead spell.
I mean,
I
I guess if you're looking for a way to build a quick horde without doing it yourself, this could get you a temporary one.
It does let you steal someone else's horde, and hypothetically speaking, unintelligent undead that you take are just yours now. They're in this pool of things that you're commanding, which is separate from your pool of things that you've created. So
Ah,
you can use it to control extra additional unintelligent undead if you're a channeler of some sort.
which on average, if you're doing the undead spam necromancy, it's usually better to go with the divine one anyway, so you're probably a channeler.
Yeah, either like an oracle of some flavor or a cleric.
Yeah. Oddly enough, being a necromancer wizard is not the best way to be a necromancer. At least not the traditional kind.
Not if you want undead hordes. They get a lot of the cool debuff spells though.
Yes.
But that's probably enough of the necromancers for now because here's a feat that's not mid. Selective channeling. We promised to talk about it, and this is a good feat for pretty much any cleric. You can choose targets up to your charisma modifier, and those targets are unaffected by your channel. It'll key nicely with the variant channel system as well, because it helps you control who benefits from your buffs or eats your debuffs. For most clerics, it's just the way you keep from either healing enemies or damaging your allies if you're negative channeling.
Yeah, even if you're not using one of the buffing types of channel, this is just good so that you don't accidentally give bad guys extra health.
Yeah, very good feat for any cleric. And then we have extra channel here. It's just 2 extra channels. If you're desperate for extra channels, then it's a legitimate option. Otherwise, there are other things you could be doing with your feats so that it's more interesting. So then improved channel. Improved channel, it boosts your DC. Plus 2 DC can be pretty good if you have high charisma and have a good offensive channel ability. If you're not using some sort of good offensive channel or you don't have high charisma, then this is probably not worthwhile. It's Channel Smite. It allows you to swift action, and you can use use of your channel, attaching your channel dice to your attack. Depending on your channel is how effective it'll be against specific creatures, because positive energy will only hurt undead, and negative energy will only hurt living creatures. Regardless of what you're targeting, they get a will save to have the additional damage from your channel smite, and if you miss, you waste your channel. There is an improved version of this feat that isn't in these categories for some reason, and it allows you to convert that channel dice into a pool, and you can carry that pool between your attacks, which makes channel smite significantly more reliable, with a little bit more investment.
It's not terrible.
I think
If
it's a
you're
good
not
feat.
playing a paladin, it's a good way to pretend to be a paladin.
Like, it definitely is eating better on a negative energy cleric or a cleric benefiting from some later feats that we'll talk about pretty soon. Channel Ray. So, situationally, Channel Ray is probably a better Channel Smite. You're not getting your attached melee attack, roll, and damage, or however that's going to go. Instead, you just get a ranged touch attack. It has a range of 30 feet per channel dice, so at 3d6 at level 5, you're looking at like 90 feet. It boosts a DC by 2, which would stack with the improved channel, and if you have a debuffing sort of variant channel, it would still apply. And not to mention, other channel feats that you have that don't replace the effect of your channel, that augment it, would also work with this. But that's only talking about it offensively. At worst case, for a healing cleric, it could still be a healing channel at a long distance, and that could be valuable because most heals are touch range.
Yeah, that is true. Pretty good range, actually, because
Yeah.
eventually you're firing that across the battlefield.
You're probably firing it across the battlefield pretty early, realistically. Like, level 5 having 90 feet reach, and that's only going up each of the 2 levels. Like, it's going up quickly, considering it's a now ranged long range heal. Yeah, the targeted heal only heals 1 person, so it might be less efficient than a channel if you have multiple allies. But sometimes you just need to challenge. You just need to channel and hit that one guy that's just far out of your reach,
Yeah.
and they'll be out of reach for all of your touch spells too at that point.
Yeah, and to be fair, if you're a cleric, you're probably not covering that distance very quickly with your 20 feet if you're in any respectable armor.
Yeah, medium where you've bought into that heavy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually can be a very good feat just based on that.
Yeah.
I think Dawn
Whether you're
might
doing
actually
damage
grab
or
this.
healing with it. What's that?
I said I think Dawn might actually grab this.
It's a tempting option, and it would
It
work with that.
is.
It would work with that fateful channel, which we'll get to later.
Yes.
And Channel Surge. Channel Surge lets you use, we'll say twice the uses, so for a cleric, 2 uses instead of 1. It takes a full round action to use, which isn't the most efficient action economy. Its benefit is that when you use this full round action to channel and spend your 2 uses, it gets empowered. It's 50% more effective whether you're healing or doing damage with it. I
Yeah.
don't know if I call this feat good. Like, you can get a pretty good amount of healing or pretty good amount of damage out of it. But hypothetically, if you had like a feat like Quick Channel, that might be a better feat investment than this.
Yeah. I could see this being useful in very, very niche cases, but if you're, I said it in the last video, I'll say it in this one. If you're using niche cases to make something good, then that just means it's too limited.
Yeah. If you have to make an argument as to whether it's good or not, and create a situation engineer one, it's probably not good. Like, it could be great in those situations. It's like, this feat might be better if you're using the variant channeling, because it will help your variant channeling do more damage or do more healing.
Yeah.
But,
I think the biggest problem is it uses 2 uses and a full round action, which is kind of one of those situations where it's like, sure, you're doing it in 1 turn, but there's better ways to use like your move action than to give yourself 50% extra damage, and using like one of your extra uses for it. Like, I believe we threw out the same thing for True Strike from 5e. Why not, instead of giving 1 attack advantage, you swing twice? Like, why not, instead of giving this a 50% boost, you just use it twice?
I mean, that's kind of the argument that I have for Quick Channel, which it's weird to me that Quick Channel isn't considered a channeling feat, but I went and grabbed it because I should be, and it's an unofficial category anyway, so I'll do what I want. Quick Channel,
Yes.
it lets you take that move action, you spend 2 uses of your channel, and you can use that channel as a move action. It's a bit more efficient because you still have your standard action to do whatever you want with it, which could be another channel, which means now you've gotten 2 channels out in 1 turn instead of 1 channel, that's 50% more effective. It uses, yeah, that 1 additional more channel, but if you're that desperate for channels and healing, there's a valid option.
Yeah.
Let's just grab this and boop. Quick Channel I think is actually a pretty good feat though, because it just helps your cleric be more efficient with their action economy.
I mean, yeah, let's be fair. Anything that lets you like do something positive faster is always going to be good. Like, giving up your move action to do something that's normally a standard is usually considered a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the fact that you still have your standard to still do something, which is like cast a spell, slap another channel if you really want to get it out there.
It's like, I can also make mention of, yeah, Channel Surge does still give you your Swift, so you could cast a Swift spell, but you could do the same thing with Quick Channel, so any case that you have for Channel Surge, Quick Channel kind of also can kind of cover.
Yeah.
Like, it's less resource efficient, I guess. Maybe. But it's action efficient, which is probably, in most cases, better. And we already covered a feat if you need more channels and are desperate for them. So, let's slide down to the next one, which is Alignment Channel. Alignment Channel, you pick one of the alignments, like one of the extreme alignments, i.e. chaotic, evil, good, law. And it gives you an extra little ability for your channel energy where you can opt to heal or harm outsiders of that alignment. Like, for example, a positive energy cleric could opt to have alignment channel evil in order to harm evil outsiders, where normally they'd only be able to really heal them. And alignment channel is one of those feats I was talking about earlier that could improve your channel ray or your channel smite. Should you want to be able to punish those creatures with positive energy.
To be fair, I'm gonna be like pretty objective on this one. As a cleric, you already have a lot of ways to hose outsiders and such with your spells. So this I would rank terrible, except that it is one of the potential prerequisites for a really good prestige class. And
I
that's
look
saying a lot because there's a lot of prestige classes out there that are just hot garbage.
I look forward to talking about it one day.
I know you do.
And it is a fair point. As a cleric, if you are a cleric, you already have the cleric spell list, which gives you options with like dismissal, banishment. You get Crusader's Edge. You already get a lot of ways of just hosing outsiders that you don't like. And you don't have to take a channel feat for it. You don't have to take a feat for it. You don't have to use your channel for it. This is true and valid. I still like alignment channel because it can key with other channel feats though. Elemental channel, it's very similar, but instead of choosing an alignment, you choose an elemental subtype. And it still targets outsiders. I feel like it's a bit more limited in what you can target, because you're still limited to outsiders. You're pretty much just limited to elementals though now. Like, and
Yeah.
elementals are in themselves potentially a broad category, but one elemental subtype out of listing, if you're not fighting those, then you're not doing anything with this feat, and that's not a particularly feels good. And I will say, alignment channel and elemental channel can be taken more than once, and every time you take it, it can apply to a different alignment or different elemental subtype.
I'm gonna drop the incredibly controversial thing. I feel alignment channel evil probably the most valuable because most games are designed expecting you to be heroes, and evil just happens to be the most common thing you fight.
I
So
absolutely agree.
most outsiders you fight are going to be evil, whether lawful evil or chaotic evil. And if you're fighting the good ones, it's like, well, what did you do to piss off the angels?
Yeah. It's not impossible to be fighting good ones, but why are you fighting good ones is a question you should be asking. How'd you get yourself into the situation? So, I think we shot that horse enough times. Let's scroll down to Channeled Revival. So, Channeled Revival allows you to spend 3 rounds of your channel energy, and it lets you fuel a Breath of Life with it. And the editor's note is here to let us know that the reach of this Breath of Life is based on your channel energy. It can free up some spell slots, it can allow some extra uses of channel that you're not using to be used as a revive in an emergency situation. It does take a full round, and it does provoke, which is awkward business. I think this feat is good, maybe worth a feat. It does let you prepare more combat spells instead of Breath of Life.
Now here's one that it would depend on your DM, but if they allow you to combine this with channeled ray, it becomes even more bonkers.
Oh, that's disgusting. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, because 66, that means you gotta go a minimum of what, like 300 feet?
Yeah, I think the awkward thing there is this isn't necessarily channeling energy, this is just expending uses to do a thing.
That's why I said it would depend on your DM. Some
If you,
DMs will allow this cheese, some will not.
yeah, I guess it depends on how killy they are. They might not like the idea of you having a 300-foot range revive.
Mind you, some that prefer more heroic games would probably love someone having access to that.
It does mean that they can afford to be more brutal.
Yes. I mean, spoiler, how many of your fights have you held back on a little bit just because you didn't want to knock someone out early and then them not be able to be part of the rest of the game?
I mean, I'm guilty of that, absolutely. I don't like to take away the player agency and leave them sitting there with their thumb up their ass for the next 2 hours while waiting for a fight to finish.
Yeah.
It's not fun for me, it's not fun for them. Even if they put themselves in positions where they absolutely deserve punishment. I'm not venting, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, do you think Channel Revival is worth it? Do you think it's a good feat?
I personally like it, but I believe it could be because there's an enhanced version later that goes with it.
Oh, I don't know about this enhanced version. That
I
does
was
make it
pretty
better.
sure I was pretty sure there was one that counted as resurrect, though I could be thinking of a paladin one.
Maybe. I've just grabbed things that were in the quote-unquote unofficial category listing. because those are the closest things that I can think of to being the channel feats. But there are some that aren't here. And I think there's something to be mentioned soon enough for that. In any case, versatile channeler. So this one has a lot of text. There's a lot of rules here. If you can qualify for this, it makes you significantly more diverse in that you'll be able to channel both positive and negative. Granted, one will be at -2. The qualifications require you to either be a necromancer or a neutrally aligned cleric with a neutral or no god. I think this feat's good if you can qualify for it. Like, you become more diverse. You can channel positive, you can channel negative. You can qualify for more feats off of both. It's just hard to qualify for most characters.
Yeah.
So now we'll talk about some channel feats that have some associations, with prereqs being like worships X being. So first up, Channel Discord. It's associated with Demon Lord worship, not a specific Demon Lord, just Demon Lord worship. It lets you inflict Song of Discord to creatures which fail to save. This does mean that there is a chance of those creatures just beating on their allies. It asks you to worship an evil demon lord, but for feat, it's not bad. It's once per day, which is probably the biggest downside.
Once per day is always an oof.
It's a bit of an oof.
And especially because it's so late in the game when you're getting your 8d6.
Yeah, it's like level 15. So
like at level 15, why are you picking feats with such a limited use? Like, that's when you should be getting your big bang for your buck.
I mean, if you're using it in a fight, that means that there's a lot of chaff, and it's a crowd control effect more than a, like, source of damage.
Yeah,
at that point.
The other problem with that is when you're at these levels, typically you're going through more fights in a day than when you were at lower levels.
Hopefully.
So as you hit the higher levels, like once per day abilities kind of have to be really big bang for your buck.
Yeah, and this one only really gives creatures like a 50% chance of beating on each other rather than you. And even then, like, if you read the Song of Discord spell, like, the verbiage isn't the most clear beyond the first sentence. Like, attacks nearest creatures effects, which might still be your allies, or you yourself if they've entered melee with you.
Yeah.
I think it's a case of the feat can be good, but, like, there's definitely situations where it just doesn't do anything. So, I guess that's enough for that one. Goes right here offers us, Channel Endurance. So, Channel Endurance it's also a once per day, and what it does is it gives you Endure Elements. It lasts for 24 hours, so that's kind of nice. It's a little niche, but if the party ever winds up in an area of really high or really cold, like just that kind of temperature environment, it suddenly becomes very nice, because like it allows you to basically ignore temperature-based mechanics.
Honestly, where we are in our current playthrough, temperature is a huge thing. And at the beginning of basically each day, my character is blowing like almost every level 1 spell she can cast to coat the group with this. The cleric being able to do it with one channel would have been super nice.
It's when it's relevant, it's very nice to have.
Yeah.
It's just not one of those things that might come up, because if it doesn't come up, if it's irrelevant, then it feels bad. But if it comes up, it's suddenly like, I have the key to the city now. So, situationally very good, situationally useless. Channel Hate from Girona. Girona's the Hag God. And this lets you expend a use of channel energy, which that's an important phrasing because you're not actually channeling, as a standard action, and it lets you cast Vengeful Outrage on a target within 30 feet. Vengeful Outrage allows you to specify a target for the target creature to go commit some violence on. At 96, you get to target more creatures with the effect, and there's also this like additional if you use an additional channel for the feat, the second part of Vengeful Outrage doesn't offer an additional saving throw. I guess that second part's nice. I think this feat might be okay. Like, you're limited based on charisma how many targets you eventually get to Vengeful Outrage, but you could potentially cause a pile of enemies to collapse on themselves much more efficiently than, say, the channel Discord. Because this is very much you target who you want them to go fuck up. Which,
Yes.
even late game, if you can get it to stick on a bunch of enemies, that could be the BBEG.
Well, that's the problem. It is late game for the multi effect because it's at
Absolutely.
96. Like,
Yeah,
that is an end game power. So you are actually just doing this to gangbang the BBG.
absolutely. Like, 96, that's like, what, a level, that's like
18?
level 17, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think 10d6 is 19. So if you're level 17, if your game's gone on that long, you're probably at the BBEG fight. So you might only get that use out of it. But hey, it might be good use. In any case, is this worth your feat slot? Maybe.
At level
Vengeful
17,
Outrage.
for sure.
Vengeful Outrage isn't a bad effect to hit somebody with. Just making an enemy go violent to another enemy, you're ceasing an enemy probably for the entire fight, and getting extra DPS on an enemy that you're targeting anyways.
I mean, let's be fair. When it comes to control powers, being able to control an enemy is king. It's
Pretty
even
good.
better than killing them because you kill them, they're gone, but you control them, they're on your side.
Yeah, it's not quite as good as as an actual dominate, but yeah. And then we have Channel Viciousness here as key to Gorum. It's a negative energy power for a neutral god. It allows you to expend a use of your channel to grant allied melee weapons the vicious special quality for minutes equal to your charisma bonus. With enough charisma, this can last a while, potentially multiple fights, in a dungeon at least. Vicious, if you're not familiar, causes the weapon to do 2d6 bonus damage, but the wielder takes a d6 in retaliatory damage. I think this feat has some potential.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially because it's the 1 minute per charisma.
Yeah, like, it it can last a while. Like, yeah, charisma's not your most important stat, but if you want a lot of channels, but you might need to be able to prepare to do some spot healing, and you are running negative energy with this, which means you're not doing spot healing with your channel, unless you happen to pick up versatile channel earlier.
True.
Then we have Shellen here offering us clarifying channel, and it allows creatures that are healed to attempt an additional saving throw as immediate to end charms and compulsions. It's another once per day. I think it's pretty good, or at least just decent. It also lets them add your charisma bonus for that save, which, if you've got massive charisma, yeah, you might actually get them out of whatever effect they just failed.
I mean, yeah, because there is a couple charisma-based classes that get the ability to channel, so... No, absolutely. This one could be pretty good. Being able to end a control effect on an ally, or potentially do so, is just good.
And it's like, yeah, it's once per day. It makes me kind of want to compare it to a lot of the effects from the variant channel that had similar usages. But most of those that I can think of immediately were, yeah, here's a little bit of a bonus based on this number, which that number will maybe eventually be higher than your charisma, but maybe not if you're
To,
actually getting your charisma headband and whatnot.
to be fair, though, the difference between variant channel and this is you use it when you need it, whereas
Whereas
variant
that's just
channel, it's
there.
like now your channel is just it's got that effect.
Yeah.
So even when you don't need that and would like to just fully like do a full heal, you can.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is a good feat. Conversion channel. So conversion channel is written a little weird, at least on the SRD. It's actually associated with Asmodeus, not just any evil deity. And it lets you channel negative energy once per day to heal the faithful. The non-faithful heretics can have a chance to redeem themselves in the eyes of their new god to gain healing instead of some damage. If they accept this conversion, it can only be undone with an atonement spell or a similar effect. I think this feat's very funny. I think it's a little odd for a party member. This feels more like a DM tool feat than a player feat, if I'm honest.
I mean, there is a lot of things that exist solely because they need to be used by DMs or for certain adventures.
Might be worth taking because it's funny.
Yes.
It's also kind of late game at 76. Like, we're talking like... Well, that's level 13, I think. Alright, so are you ready to talk about Fateful Channel?
Oh boy. Man, I wish Wah was here, but in absence of Wah, I will just say, very good feat. Very fucking good feat.
Yeah, if Law was here for this one, this is where he might rant a little bit. You get spared a rant for today. It's a Pharasman feat. What it does is it grants you a reroll. It's rounds based on your charisma modifier that you have to use it in. You can only benefit from one of these channel effects at a time. It's not once per day, which really helps it. And Wa uses this in combination with the luck channel, so it winds up being, ah yes, on a d20 roll during the next round, you can get the channel bonus, which is going to range from 1 to 5, depending on level. But you also get an additional reroll that you can make whenever you want for the next charisma modifier-based turns. Very cute combination, very good feat anyways.
I mean, I liked it so much that I kind of partially borrowed Wah's build on Jack to make a character based around this. And spoiler, the DM didn't like her very much. I had to purposely nerf my build.
Yeah. Alright, so Forceful Channel, it's associated with Nessus, and it has this cute effect of making the channel a fortitude save instead of a will save, so you can cover a different group of creatures than what you normally would be able to.
Nice.
It adds a proning effect to it if they fail to save, so they get knocked on their asses. And it also converts the damage to force damage instead of being negative energy damage.
Ah, shit. It's force push.
Yeah, I guess so. This is also once... It's also a once per day feat, which... But I feel like it still could be pretty good. Having the ability to swap the channel just to being a fort save, even once, just hit a different class of creatures, and the pile of additional things, like it's now force damage, which is usually a better damage type. It can now prone them too, which will set them up for your melee. It's at least as good as a spell, so I think it's a pretty good feat. A Liberation Channel, dedicated to Caden Kalian. This is a very reasonable feat that applies freedom of movement for rounds based on your charisma modifier. It's not once per day. This effect can be very good. And this is also one of those that you could fire out of your ray. If your DM isn't a big fan of paralyzes or slows or water combat, then it might not see a lot. But the moment that paralysis, grapple, water combat shows up, suddenly this feat becomes very useful because freedom of movement is a very powerful effect. And just having it as a bonus effect, really solid. Protective Channel, associated with Iomedae. And this is another one that I think is pretty good. Possibly very good, and also not once per day. And on channel, you offer protection from evil. So, protection from evil, if you're not familiar, has a slew of effects. Like, there's this cute little deflection bonus against evil creatures, to your AC, and the bonus on saving throws against evil creatures, which I think is a resistance bonus. So those probably won't stack with common items. But then we have basically immunity to mind control and possession during the duration of that effect. You're basically untouchable by, in this case, evil summoned creatures, because they can't make physical contact with you. And I feel like there's a third reason to have this, but do I need a third? What I've already covered is pretty good on its own, and this is just on the channel. You channel this, and it's not once per day. Just distribute protection from evil to all of your allies and yourself.
Protection from evil, just kind of really good.
It's just good. I guess the downside is you have to be worshipping Iomade, not a fun god like Caden. Oh darn! I have to worship Iomade for this great feat. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess
gotta
that's the
worship
same
the
thing for
stick in the mud.
Pharasma. That's the same thing for Pharasma. You want that fateful channel? You better be worshipping Pharasma.
Oh man, that is
Alright,
the one
alright.
thing I'm happy about the DM in Dawn's game, taking away Pharasma being such a stick in the mud. Ugh.
I mean, there might be potential for her not to be a stick in the mud, but... so Seductive Channel is associated with Callistria. It allows creatures to be healed. It lets them just add your charisma bonus to the heal. But in return, they take a penalty to will saves against your charms, compulsions, emotion effects, and on sense motives against your bluff checks. The penalty lasts for 24 hours, and during that penalty, they can't accept the extra healing again. This penalty probably does not matter to your party. And it might give you niche situations of giving a penalty to will saves against creatures that should probably not have accepted your extra healing. I don't know if the feat's worthwhile or not. Like, it doesn't seem very good to me, because it's not a lot of healing. Like, if you could spam this and continuously give this heal to the same allies over and over again, it would be better. That would actually make it pretty good. But it's like, it's once per day, slightly more healing for, in effect, to most creatures. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like the person that's taking this is almost being a little bit trolly with their will saves. And if they did do that, the party's not going to trust their healing again anyways. I don't know. I don't think this feat's particularly good. Sorry, Callistria.
No. Actually, if you think about it, though, you say your party, but if you don't take selective channel...
Yeah, I know. Like, if your enemies... So your enemies would get the healing anyways, and then they'd have the option of taking that additional healing from the charisma modifier. Some enemies might be like, yeah, sure, why not? I can get some extra healing. I'll take it. And those enemies are the foolish ones. The smart enemies are probably not going to let you have your bonuses against them. And depending on the DM, like, the DM will probably see your shit once, and most enemies will suddenly wisen up to your shit.
Yeah.
So, Trailblazing Channels for Desnants. It allows for the creatures that are healed to be unimpeded by difficult terrain. It lasts for minutes equal to charisma modifier. It's once per day. I bet it feels nice to have when the mechanic comes up, but I'm not sure if this is worth a feat slot. Like, a big part of that is the once per day is kind of leaning my brain towards no, even though you'd probably only need it once per day to begin with.
Yeah.
Difficult terrain is semi-common, and it depends on if the rules are enforced or not.
Yeah, because I do remember you enforced it quite a bit at the beginning of the game, but then eventually, like, it kind of fell off. Especially when we had so many ways of getting around that it just didn't really matter anymore. So you just stopped bothering to figure it out.
I mean...
No,
like,
I get you, though. Like, I feel the only reason you would pick this is because you just happen to be worshipping the god and can't take any other things.
I mean, maybe. Like, when it comes up, it's nice to have, but it's probably more situational than some of the other ones that we've talked about.
I mean, freedom of movement does the same thing.
Yeah, but also more.
Yeah.
Siphon Channel, it's associated with Glonder. Glonder is a god of, like, parasites, infection, insects, diseases. He's kind of gross. This channel feat is once per day, and it grants it temporary HP equal to half of your channel result, +1 per creature affected, +1 again per creature that failed. The temp HP lasts for an hour, you know, if it isn't removed through damage in combat first. And I think this can be pretty good. I think it's pretty decent because, at worst, it's a once per day boost of HP. And if you cast enough creatures, it's like...
You know, yeah. I agree.
Number get big. You can also get it fairly early, you know, at level 5. when you have 3d6.
Yeah, no, it's not terrible. I
Yeah.
can absolutely see this being very useful, just because you're dealing a bunch of damage to the enemy and giving yourself a bit of a shield.
And, like, this one absolutely justifies being once per day. Like, if this wasn't once per day, it would be
Oh
obscene.
man, yeah. Even if it was like up to your number like of charisma, it would still be pretty freaking.
Like, you could, like, imagine, if you would, an enemy, say, a roughly level 5 against a level 3 party, and every turn, all they're doing is siphon channel, until they run out of channels. Roughly. Even not rolling particularly well against a party of 4, let's say the fighter and rogue keeps failing the will save. Like, they're consistently getting a bit chunked. And not to mention that the Glondor Worshipper over here is eating up some of their damage pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, not all of it. The fighter might be one-shotting it, or the rogue might be one-shotting it if he can get his flanks off. But, like, that's still extending his health bar considerably.
Yeah, let's be fair. Any extension to your health bar, anything that eats a hit is good.
Yeah. And, I guess we've talked up Siphon Channel enough. Let's talk up Steel Skin Channel, or try to, rather. It's a Torag feat. Once per day, you can channel positive, and grant DR2 flat. It lasts minutes, equal to Charisma again. And, I feel this one's actually kind of bad. Once per day,
by the time
low
and
amount.
by the time you're at 7d6 of fucking channel, the DR2 isn't gonna matter.
Yeah, like, you're level 13 at this point. And, like, yeah, it might last multiple fights if you're lucky, but, again, like, we're talking, you're level 13 by the time you're getting it, the DR doesn't scale, and, like, yeah, it's DR2, you'll get something out of it, but, like, if you're taking, like,
Nah.
20 damage hits, like,
At that level, it's not saving your life.
yeah, like, I generally think any amount of DR is good. This amount of DR I don't think is worth it. And maybe if this one wasn't once per day, because this one doesn't justify once per day. Now, if it gave a lot of DR, like DR equal to your channel dice, that might be broken.
Or maybe if they went like, okay, they kept the once per day, but made it hours for charisma, so that way it would be sure to last multiple fights.
Like, then it might basically last the entire adventuring day, roughly.
Yeah,
And, like, even then, it wouldn't be broken. It might be
okay,
considerable, but you'd probably still take other things.
Yeah. I'm not even considering it good at that point. It's now it raises an eyebrow. I'll look in its direction.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Torag's channel feat, Steelskin channel, it doesn't look very good at all.
No.
Sorry. Alright, so, here we have Poisoner's channel associated with Norborger. I mean, not Noburger, Norgorber.
Burger.
Associated with Burger Man here. So, it penalizes the creatures that fail its save by making them more vulnerable to poison for a minute. Poison needs a lot of help to be good. With enough support, this can be good. On its own, I think this is bad. I don't think it's good enough to make poison good, and that's its entire purpose. You still need, like, probably an alchemist and other things to support poison.
I was about to say, unless you have an alchemist, there's nothing out there that can make poison good.
Yeah.
Poison
Alchemist
is good.
Or,
poison is good level 1, 2, and 3 when you can't afford it.
Yeah. That's kind of the problem with poison. Poison's too expensive to be affordable early. And by the time you can afford it, the DC is probably too low to be relied upon. And the action to apply it isn't efficient unless your name is Alchemist.
I do know of one item in one of the books I have. It's it's like a drow shield, and what you can do is you can put 3 vials of poison into the shield, and I believe it makes applying them a swift action because you just like ram your sword into it and cut it along, and it just applies the poison.
Okay.
So, but like that requires a specific item just to render the application useful. That still doesn't help the DC.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's still.
if you want to good poison. The trick to that, I think, is using the survival mechanics and killing a toxic creature and harvesting its poison. Because now you're using a creature's DC.
You want a really good poison? The best poison is just hitting something with fucking like negative energy and death, because that could be considered a poison to the living.
So, anyways, with some support, Poisoner's Channel, it might be decent on its own. Go next. Work with your party to have an alchemist.
Yeah, if you have an alchemist in the group, then Poisoner's Channel might help, but yeah.
So, Key Channel. So, Key Channel's way down here with Poisoner's Channel for a reason. I think Key Channel's good. It's for Aurori, and Aurori is basically the god of monks. So, instead of healing, affected creatures can restore Ki. The Ki is based on how many channel dice you have. In a party with monks, or a partial monk cleric, this can be good. If you don't have any monks, and aren't part monk yourself, or something, then this feat doesn't really do anything. It does restore a lot of Ki for its value, though.
Yeah, this is very nice. If you are a monk and you can get your channeler to grab this for you somehow, but the problem is they kind of have to already be down with the monk thing, because being like worshiping Iori.
Yeah. Like,
you know, maybe make a combined backstory where you're both from the same monastery.
Like, if you are if you're like some kind of Sacred Fist cleric, which I think's a thing.
Sacred Fist War Priest.
Is there? I feel like there's a cleric to Aurori archetype for.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I mean, War Priest can channel too.
True.
They just use Fervor to do it.
You're not wrong.
So this could totally work on a Sacred Fist War Priest who came from a Temple of Iori. But I don't even think they get Ki.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it needs to be a Ki user to actually benefit from this.
Wait, let me check something.
Checking noises.
Checking noises. Scroll. If you're a variant multi-class monk, you get a Ki pool at level 11.
Oh, there we go. Be a variant multi-class monk to get your Ki pool so you can fill it yourself. Genius!
Jump through all the hoops.
Find more hoops to swim through.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we've talked about Ki Channel enough.
I'll just give my vote. It's not very good unless you have a monk. Then it can actually be a little bit overpowered, because there's some monks out there that are just disgusting. Zen Archer, oof. When they're spending their Ki points to machine gun, and then you just restore their Ki so they can machine gun more. At that point, you have to replenish arrows faster than you have to replenish Ki points.
So I'm thinking of Qui-Gon Monk, where you basically have like spells for Ki powers that are fueled off of your Ki. So when your spell slots are based on how many channels you eat off of the cleric, that might be decent.
Yeah.
Alright, so Thicket Channel. Thicket Channel is dedicated to our boy Aristil, and I think this is another one that takes some consideration. Its function is that it can cause plants in the area of your channel to be targeted by the overgrowth side of plant growth. I think it has potential to be good. I think it also has the potential to really, really annoy your own party, especially your frontliners, unless they have like Woodland Stride or a similar effect. Buffing spells like Entangle or Wall of Thorns could be a fun usage of your channel. If you use these spells, that could be good. If your allies use them, that could be good. But like, I think this one has the danger of taking your fighter and giving them a 5-foot movement speed. You know, if you're not careful with where you've just placed your channel. You know, under your feet.
Yeah, like, oof.
There's a bit to unpack here with that, you know? Could be good, could be very bad.
I mean, I guess it's good if you're solo holding the line.
Oh yeah,
but if you're solo holding the line, you're probably dead anyway.
I mean, Unless you have a way to also not be affected by it.
I
You
mean,
might also seal off your own escape.
I'm sure from the Aristil pile there would be something to do.
Possibly. There's probably a way to get woodland stride.
You know.
And if there's not, good luck. Alright, so, we're getting close to the bottom of this list now. Channeled Shield Wall is, I don't think this is good. To explain what it does, you need to wield a shield. That's pretty normal. If you got a shield and you use this as a swift action, which is okay, that's okay. It gives you a +2 deflection bonus, which isn't terrible, but if you have a little level 1 spell called Shield of Faith, you've already outscaled this feat. You could just apply that, and the duration of Shield and Faith in this is the same. You can share this benefit with allies that have shields, as long as they stand next to you. And this won't stack with things like Rings of Protection either, so if your allies have Rings of Protection, they're probably not getting any benefit, even if they do qualify and pin themselves next to your ass.
I feel like this would have been okay if it just added that to the channel. But as it is far too restrictive, and you're just gonna buy an item that kills it off anyway.
I think this is another feat that's for NPCs. Because you could have
Probably.
a group of... You could have, like, a group of shield users stacked up on a cleric who could swift action grant this benefit. And now they have a +2 Ring of Deflection effectively without having to pay for one.
I mean, yes, but we do have to judge this based on whether or not a person should take it, and
yeah,
as it's written, it is far too restrictive. The only time I could see this being okay or decent is if you're playing in a low magic campaign, so your DM is not dropping a lot of rings of deflection.
yeah, right. I mean,
Like,
things like this could be valuable in those cases.
yeah, but other than that, it's far too restrictive. It would have maybe been okay if they didn't have to be adjacent to you. If it just gave the benefit to your allies with shields, like, within your channel range.
I mean, I feel like the fact that it requires shields is also extremely restrictive, but
Yeah, but sword and board can be kind of popular, and
it's
remember,
pretty
there's
good.
that one stupid build that used shield master and 2-weapon fighting, which is 2 shields.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, the like,
I had to
I mean,
curl my brain around it.
hell, even in our current group, Kaflang is wielding a Clar, which counts as a shield. So
Yeah.
it's not completely uncommon, but it is one of those situations.
Yeah.
Hell, Maya has a buckler, which I believe counts as a shield.
Yes, it does.
So if it hit the area, it wouldn't have been too bad, but
It's they need to pin themselves to you, which if they get separated suddenly they lose their buffs.
I mean, it makes sense for the name. Channeled Shield Wall, it's basically expecting you to phalanx. It's just not very good.
And that's why I say it's good for NPCs phalanxing. It's not very good for players.
Yeah. Yeah, in most combats, you will actually not be rewarded for phalanxing up.
Generally, no. You could be, but generally, no. Okay, so, Channeling Scourge. So, I see this feat, and I see it as a jank glue feat. It allows you to tie your Inquisitor levels to your Cleric levels for the damage and the DC of your channel dice. I think it's good if you are playing a multi-class Inquisitor and Cleric. This combination will both scale from High Wisdom. It probably could be a pretty good combination, honestly. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Probably mostly leaning on the Cleric, but even if it's not, it can jank glue the two classes together.
I mean, I don't get why you'd try and jank glue these two classes together, but
well, you can get some things from Inquisitor, such as the ability to add your Wisdom modifier to your initiative.
True.
That I think is probably one of the biggest cases right there. The other abilities you get at first level aren't terrible either. And if you're going to go the other way, I imagine it's because you would want access to Channel Feats or Channel Smite, and are just taking one level of Cleric. Because you might be just using that to fuel additional damage. So what you're really playing as an Inquisitor, and this one level of Cleric gives you access to this ability that you're just now scaling through Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So, Channeled Blessing is another feat that I've got here. This one's not a Cleric feat, but it is under the category of channeling feats. This is a War Priest feat. It lets you channel, and it lets you give your blessing to one target, and that target gains the blessing instead of healing. The usefulness of this feat depends on what blessings you have access to, and I believe there's wording in here that says it also needs to be a standard action. There it is. Yeah. Considering that war priests are kind of like more selfish and more martial clerics, I'm not sure they would take this feat, and I'm not sure that even if they did, they'd want to take advantage of the feat, because they'd probably have better things to be doing with their initiatives than trying to share a blessing with another character.
I don't know. I'm a little on the other side of the fence on that one. Some
Okay.
of the blessings are pretty good, and being able to give something that would normally only go to you to like your fighter or something can absolutely like devastate.
I'm sure you're right there.
I mean, yes, you would typically want to do something else with your standard action, but let's say you were going to be healing anyway.
I mean, if you're healing anyways on a war priest, you might be in an odd position,
I
in
mean,
my
let's
humble
be
opinion.
fair, 9 times out of 10, if you're playing a war priest, it's because you didn't want to play a cleric, and you're probably the only one that's the divine anyway. I mean,
I'm
remember
gonna
in
go
the
with
other game,
possibly.
if you're relying on your sorcerer to be the healer, your group is in trouble unless you use the very jank build I made to specifically make it a good healer. like, like
Well,
typically a group is supposed to only consist of 4 players. Now, just because you invited everybody that was remotely within hearing distance and then they all took leadership, that that is not the example of a typical party.
I feel like I'm being attacked. Oh no.
You are being attacked, and it's vicious.
Alright, well, at least I guess Channel Blessing allows you to target yourself with your blessing. So
Yeah.
you could heal and give yourself your own blessing.
Mind you, I believe for the most part your blessings aren't they usually just active for half of them?
A good number of them, from what
Yeah,
I can recall
so
off the top of my head. This one,
yeah.
you have to bestow one that can be activated as a standard. And like,
Yeah.
I think it is a case of, it still very just much depends on what blessings you have access to. And that is the last feat underneath the channeling category. There are other feats to cover, but I'm sure that those feats will make it into the next part of the videos when we talk about cleric support, feats, items, and all that fun stuff. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and reach to our closing thoughts. Got any thoughts
Uh,
on your head?
well, the one thing I wanted to say is that that power that I was thinking of that turned it into a raise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a paladin thing. Ultimate
Okay.
mercy.
That's fair.
It yeah, it's pretty fun though. I really love that one.
I mean, I know that
But
quick channel feeds into reactive channeling, which lets you
reactive healing,
channel,
I believe.
and that just lets you channel if you would be as an immediate if you would hit 0 or go below.
Yes. Yeah, that one is also a good one.
Yeah, I guess it's in the
But
case for quick channel over channel surge.
but my final thoughts are like out of all of these, I am still ranking selective channel as like the must take.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
is it is absolutely the S tier because if you're dropping lots of heals, like the last thing you want is to drop a heal with your with your faithful channel, and give the enemies a reroll.
Yeah, if I had to rank these and put one at the S tier, I agree it would be Selective Channel would be the S tier. A lot of
Yeah,
these would make it into A tier though.
Dawn did not have selective channel to start, and she was constantly running around to position herself to make sure she did not hit enemies because she did not want to give them rerolls.
Yeah.
And now she's just an offensive little thing. All right. Oh, Channel Ray. Channel Ray also really cool, especially if you can cheese it with some of the other channel abilities.
Oh, Channel Ray is really cool. And
It's
like,
really good.
if you're stacking DC with improved channel and Channel Ray, and doing some offensive channeling stuff, it could be really funny. Man, I can't wait to talk about that one prestige class because, oh boy, could we have some interesting things to talk about in combination.
I mean, the fact that we've both played them on the opposite ends, you playing an evil one and me playing a good little cinnamon roll of one, yeah.
It'll be a good time.
Yes.
Look forward to it. So I suppose that's everything.
Yeah,
If you
that's pretty
like our
much it.
content, consider leaving a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. And if you want to have any input, consider slapping the comments. Goodbye.
Ciao!